Soul Brother Kevin in a second on the Soul Brother Kevin Show. We're too far the bone.
And well, I'm the human orchestra called Biz Marquis. Making music all the way is my specialty. When I go, I want you girls get excited. When they hear my lyrics, they wanna recite them. I know you're in the mood. Just go with the flow, and I can play rapping records and all disco. Like Beat It, Billie Jean, by Michael Jackson, all the trenches for your
So if you haven't joined us before, we do a little segment called You Be the Lawyer. Where we give a legal scenario, and guys on the show try to guess the outcome. So we'll do that tonight. We usually do it every night, Fridays at 7. So hopefully you'll join us.
Some of the Kevin Show, 102.5 The Bone.
All the people like I get the crowd jumping, get the girls heart pumping.
So with the Kevin Show, I'm old school. I don't know what you guys have going on this weekend, but
I'ma tell you party people how I began. It started when I'm living in Long Island. When I was a kid, I used to play in the street, making sounds with my mouth, all sorts.
Let's get back to the show. And what we're gonna do is what we do every Friday. We talk law at about this time. I don't know about you, but I've been watching legal shows and movies for years. I know I'm not a lawyer, but sometimes I think I'm a lawyer. And instead of going to law school, I decided to just surround myself with actual lawyers and talk to them about law stuff. It's much better than actually practicing law. I can, after this call, I can disengage. But no, every Friday at 7 o'clock, we talk law. We call it You Be the Lawyer. Imagine that. With Tampa attorney Moses DeWitt. We call him Mo. Mo, what is going on?
Oh, not much. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great, man. JustCallMo.com is what you need to do. All of your legal needs will be met. That's what I'm saying. They will be met. Mo, we're doing great, man. I can't tell you how had a good week. It was good until it was bad, but I'm still gonna say I'm here today, so it's good.
All right. So it's a good start.
Yeah. What about you? Anything new?
Oh man, it's been a crazy week. I don't know. I'm sure there is, but I can't think of it right now. So
let me tell you, I thought about you when so here in Tallahassee, and they can't even hear me talking here, but the powers that be, they thought it was brilliant idea at the Tallahassee airport to let the Air Force use the airport for taking off and landing, like practicing with the big DC-9 planes. So they're flying a cat named Mo. This would be your favorite. When I tell you how low these planes are flying, I don't have a problem with planes at all until I saw these planes flying in a regular pattern. Man, I saw the pilot wink at me. That's how low he was. He winked. He didn't wave. He winked at me. If you're in Tallahassee, people that are in Tallahassee are complaining about it. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just big-ass military planes doing patterns over the city. So I thought about you, and as I was saying, I don't like it, but as a pilot, that's a pretty good practice.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure those guys are having a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, they're loving it. I just hope that everything goes right because they're very low, very low. Okay.
They're professionals.
They're learning. That's what they do with the doctors. You want to be in the military, you want to be a doctor, they make you practice doing surgery, giving boob jobs. You get a free boob job, you get in the military. I don't know how you fight with some big old knockers, but
I was unfamiliar with this program, but it seems like a fine program.
No, that's what they do. But anyway, man, let's get to our case of this week. We've been waiting, man. We've been practicing, and we've been anxious.
All right. So what do you guys want to do this week? You want to do a family law case? You want to do an injury case? What are you thinking?
JR, you pick.
Is it bad that I like the injury ones because like it's just kind of mundane and crazy?
You like to hear about people.
Suffering
you like to hear about people, but no, you like to hear about people being made whole again.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah. Because the family ones, because like I'm really big on family, so it always breaks my heart when like a family case happens, and I'm like, oh, but.
Oh man, I love the family stuff.
Well,
No, it's on you. You
Okay,
pick.
all
We're
right,
gonna.
yeah, yeah. Let's do the injury one.
All right, let's do it. So this week's case for the esteemed panel for my jury, we have a individual who's driving a minivan, and he's just going down the street, and he's going through an intersection when all of a sudden a motorcyclist who's kind of how do you describe it when they're kind of going in between the cars like that. He's kind of cutting through, and then he just floors it.
Weaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weaving.
that-
There you go. Technical
Driving
term.
No, that's just how people drive on Dale, on Dale Mabry.
That too.
That's it,
That
you know?
too. So he gets around some cars and he just guns it, and he's going well over probably 100 miles an hour, and he just T-bones the minivan. So he hits the minivan so hard that the minivan flips 3 times, and so the individual inside the minivan messes up their shoulder, needs a bunch of surgery on their shoulder. The motorcyclist, unfortunately, passes away at the scene. And so there, kind of what happens? Does the motorcyclist have any claim against the minivan? Does the minivan have a claim against the motorcyclist? Who do you think's at fault? Why are they at fault? And who gets paid in that situation, if anyone?
Oh, okay, all right. I'm gonna go through this again. You got a guy in a minivan, all right. And then the intersection, you have a biker, and he's weaving in and out of traffic. He gets around the corner. He's going fast, over 100 miles an hour. He T-bones a minivan at the intersection. Unfortunately, he passes away.
Correct.
And we're trying to figure out how do we resolve this with the person who's injured with the shoulder on the inside of the minivan, and like how do we assess blame? Is that what we're trying to figure out?
Essentially, so to break it down, the minivan, or excuse me, the biker is speeding. I mean, he's clearly speeding. He's above the speed limit. There's no doubt about that. The minivan may or may not have had the right of way in the intersection.
Okay.
So that's really the dispute right there.
All right. I see what's happening here. All right, here's the thing. We're gonna start with Mo, cat named Mo. You go ahead. Now you guys can ask one question before you give your thing. That's how we're gonna do it. You can ask one question.
Who
Not no
struck,
two parts. No two
Okay.
parts.
Who struck whom?
The motorcyclist struck the side of the minivan.
Okay, therefore, with the motorcyclist striking the minivan, I believe right of way becomes immaterial once you are driving recklessly. In other words, because the motorcyclist was speeding, it did not give him proper amount of time to stop or avoid an imminent collision, putting him at fault regardless of whether the minivan had the right of way or not. So that would be my determination.
Okay.
All right. What do you have, Spike?
I don't like what cat named Mo said. Right,
Okay, then say your thing.
right. Speeding you're breaking the law. You're definitely speeding, but that does not rule out the fault of the minivan who may or may not was in the wrong coming across an intersection. I'm thinking because the minivan, and I won't know, minivan came across the intersection, maybe ran a yellow light because the motorcycle was probably speeding to make through the light.
Yeah.
So the minivan is at fault, and the family of the biker is suing the minivan people for crashing, killing this man.
Came around a yellow light.
Okay.
All right.
All right, JR, what you got on that?
So I think, and mind you, I'm a very big motorcycle advocate. I love motorcyclists. But when someone is weaving in and out of traffic and driving recklessly, I think at the end of the day, even when the unfortunate demise of the motorcyclist, they crash into the van, it's still their fault, and they're still at fault, knowing that they're driving recklessly and they're not abiding by the road rules that have been attained by law. So the person, unfortunately, has to go after, if they have insurance, of the motorcyclist and obtain some cash compensation for their injuries, even though the motorcyclist has passed.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't have much information on the minivan other than they're in an intersection. So
Wait, I throw the intersection part in there. He never said that.
no, he did say intersection. I wrote intersection down.
Man, I have.
Mo, did you say something about an intersection?
Yeah, the minivan was in the middle of the intersection when the motorcyclist hit him in the
may,
side.
You're a-
may or
you're
may
a
not
cat.
have had the right of way.
You're a cat name, Mo.
Okay.
Remember your.
We'll get this straight
remember
one day.
No, only
Yeah,
one
right.
person. Only one person. You ain't got it straight.
2 years later.
If you're in an intersection, waiting to turn, you're waiting for your right. Yeah. The speed. Man, I kind of agree with you guys, but that seems a little too clear cut, like a little too simple there. But I don't see how you have a leg to stand on if you hit a car when you're driving recklessly. But if the car's not supposed to be where it is, then if you would have been, then you, yeah.
I can wreck all day.
I think I'm stuck. I'm stuck on. Well, no, I'm stuck on what I'm agreeing with what Mo, a cat named Mo, said in the beginning. Like you kind of the fact that you were driving reckless. It's that reckless driving that caused the you. Even if the person in the minivan was doing in the wrong, if you were going the right rate of speed, you would have had a chance to correct that or avoid that, but you couldn't because you were going so fast. It doesn't matter. So you're totally in the wrong. Unless, well, yeah, you're totally in the wrong. So unfortunately, the state of this guy who passed away is gonna have to take a hit from paying out a claim to the minivan. Now, why is a man driving a minivan? That's a whole nother thing.
We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I was really mad at the man driving because I was gonna say, didn't you say he was crying?
No, I said the minivan flipped over 3 times. He
No,
may have been crying too. I don't know.
Yeah, because he was in a minivan. His wife emasculated him. Yeah,
They said baby on board in the back. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
He was crying before the accident ever happened. That was unrelated.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Homeboy had the worst bumper sticker that you could have on a car. I love my wife. I'd be like, yo, that dude is evil.
It's I heart my wife. Okay, get it right.
Oh, that's even worse.
that's
You
even
can't even
worse,
say it. That's a code.
Oh, you're making up for something there.
All right. I'm trying. All right, what do we have here? Tell us how evil the minivan driver is.
All right. So at the scene, the police did cite the motorcyclist who unfortunately passed away for reckless driving. And I will say I'm a big advocate for motorcyclists as well. So this really was a tragic situation. But they did cite him, but it's a little bit of a trick question here because what actually ended up happening is both parties had $25,000 in insurance for bodily injury. The minivan driver had a $25,000 policy, and the motorcyclist had a $25,000 policy. So what actually happened is the minivan driver sued the motorcyclist. The motorcyclist insurance company tendered the $25,000 to him, and then the estate of the motorcyclist family, sued the minivan, and the minivan tendered the $25,000 to them. And the reason they did that is because since it was a death case, essentially, if that case were to go to trial and the minivan driver would only be found, 1% at fault or 5% at fault, and it was a $5 or $10 million verdict, the insurance company doesn't want that risk. So out of an abundance of caution, they both just basically exchanged insurance policies.
But what was the grounds to go after the minivan?
Essentially, there weren't real strong grounds. Essentially, it was, that he possibly pulled in front of the motorcyclist. But that was about it, frankly. I mean, given just given the speed, I think it was hard to really argue that the minivan really had much fault in the accident.
Well, I was going to say, you could very easily kind of pull, not in front of, it was something you don't see. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you're going over 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle through an intersection, man, that is hauling ass.
Yeah, I mean, think about the force it takes for a motorcycle to flip a minivan 3 times. Hit the side of a minivan and flip it over 3 times like that.
That minivan never saw that motorcycle.
No, they didn't. And fortunately, the minivan person, he had a banged up shoulder and needed surgery, but he survived. Obviously, the motorcyclist wasn't so lucky.
So in that case as well, would the minivan driver be also be charged with like a manslaughter type situation, or is it just kind of like, hey, it's an accident, it's unfortunate, we have to let this one go?
Yeah, the minivan driver wasn't cited for anything. It was just an accident, and he was not found at fault.
Okay.
So yeah, he wasn't ticketed. The motorcyclist, I think, was technically ticketed for reckless driving. I don't know that they actually issued him a ticket, but they put in the report that there was reckless driving.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mo. This story, I mean, this case is the way it is. I'm gonna change one factor in everything you said, and you tell me if it changes in the end.
Okay.
The minivan driver was naked.
I think it makes it a little more interesting for the EMTs who arrive on the scene.
Okay. 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 All right. Now, the minivan driver was drunk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in Florida, if you get in an accident when you're drunk, there can be what we call punitive damages. And so basically, if that happens, and even if there's not a lot of damage, obviously here it's a pretty severe case or a very severe case. But even if there's not a lot of damage, a lot of times the insurance companies will just tender the policies because they don't want to risk the fact that you were drunk being brought in front of a jury, because typically that's not liked very much by a jury when there's an accident involved, especially when someone's injured.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, if you were naked, I'm gonna assume you were drunk.
I mean, you were probably having a good night up until the accident, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Huh.
okay.
I gather that I'm gathering that the minivan's insurance company was a punk. They scared because the guy was not at fault in any
Is that a legal term?
any shame. What is it? Fame or fortune? How the thing go? Any way, shape, or shame? Anyway,
Go like that.
the legal. I mean, the minivan people was not at fault, but they scared up and paid 25,000.
yeah.
Because they didn't want to go to court.
Yep. And when there's a death involved, insurance companies typically will do that. They don't want to mess around. So
Even
I've
if they're clean and so clean and
Yeah.
clean and safe.
yeah, I mean, I've had cases before where the other driver was completely found at fault, but the people in that vehicle weren't wearing seatbelts and were just ejected from the accident and passed away. And the insurance company of the person who had no fault, was not ticketed for the accident. They
Right.
tendered the full policy.
We're talking to Tampa attorney Moses DeWitt of the DeWitt law firm, justcallmo.com. No, Mo, I'm wondering, are you up to speed on this Deshaun Watson case?
I'm not.
Deshaun Watson, Houston, Texas quarterback. Yesterday, he had like one accuser come out for, some possibly sexual assault allegations. And now, today, refresh your screen, he has 12. And an attorney says that there are 10 more that are gonna file. And so in the end, maybe Monday morning when you wake up, there's gonna be 22 accusers that don't know each other, that have similar stories. He goes to the massage therapist, and then he gets all heavy-handed and starts like getting demanding and stuff and forcing them to do stuff here and there or whatever. Not knowing anything about that, we were trying to look at this case and say, basically, I can't get around the fact that if there's 22 women accusing you of something, I don't think you're innocent.
Well, that's the power of having that many accusers come forward, obviously. Now, I'm sure the accused always argues, oh, these are just people trying to collect money or this or that. I mean, we've seen that in other cases previously.
That's what his agent says. Yeah, his agent
Exactly.
says it's a money grab. Yeah.
But I mean, I tend to agree with you. For that many people to come forward, I like to believe that people are honest and, wouldn't perjure themselves, just make something up like that if there wasn't some truth to it. But I mean, the more people that come out, the worse it looks for them, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I want to throw this out there on the Deshaun thing. 22 women, I'm thinking all from the same massage parlor.
It's not a
Nah.
Apollo. He's doing like a private going to upscale.
But
He's a
they
quarter.
all-
He got some change.
They're all going to this turn. This attorney said 20 more. I mean 10 more coming out. So they all went to the same attorney. All 10 other additional ones. Ah man, that's like hey, let's go and let's get this paper.
Well, no, what usually happens, Spike, I mean, come on. you see a couple accusers on TV and you're a victim as well, you contact the lawyer that you see talking about the
Yeah,
case. That's what
that's
other
true.
instead of finding some, unless you have another lawyer that you like or something, but I'd go to the head dude or woman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, usually you kind of find out who's kind of handling the claims and go join with them, and they kind of bring it all together.
So he grabbed, and I'm just being his defense attorney. He grabbed 22 different women.
He just dropped you as a lawyer. Just because you said, just because you just basically read the allegations. He said, nope, nah, that's not my guy.
So what? He was getting massages at some sort of massage parlor, and he got a little handsy. Is that the general allegation?
it, it doesn't say a parlor.
Okay.
It just says that it's a similar. It all says massage therapist. The first one that came out, he was at their facility. Like they go. He went to her house. She operates out of her home or whatever. I'm not assuming. There's nothing in this that says that this is a massage parlor place. It
Gotcha.
just. Which kind of look, what it says is that all of these women didn't know each other and they're totally independent, which makes it look even worse.
Right, right. It kind of makes it seem like, hey, this is what he did, regularly. He just would call these people
Right.
over under the guise of a massage and then see if he could make it go a little further.
Let me read this to you. TMC Sports obtained 7 of the lawsuit files against Watson's. They're all very similar. Each woman claims Watson reached out seeking a massage. Most of the women claim he first contacted them on Instagram, but when they met for the massage therapy sessions, the women claim Watson became aggressive in the pursuit of a sexual act. One woman claims Watson forced her to perform oral sex on him against her will. So all of the claims kind of go that kind of way, and it gets kind of some of the stuff I can't read here. Exactly. So, yeah. Hey, in this kind of thing, if you have a client this is a big type of deal, 22 women accusing you of something. Do you go on do you get in the news? Do you go out? I didn't do this. I want to have my day in court. Here's my fancy lawyer. Hey, man, say something to him. I mean, what do you do?
So, I mean, you have to have a talk with your client. I mean, typically you want to get ahead of it before it ever hits the papers or gets into the media. And so usually that's with confidentiality agreements and settlement agreements. Obviously, we've seen other people do that previously. But the problem that you have when they start coming this quickly is you can't manage it in time, essentially to try to quiet these people and make it go away, and then it does get into the news.
Okay, it's in the news. Do we? I know we don't fight our cases in the news, but I'm Deshaun Watson. I'm sitting at home going crazy. Do I go live on IG?
Probably not. So, my first concern would be: is there a criminal component to this that he could be prosecuted for? When did these crimes occur? Is the statute of limitations, has it run yet, or is it still within the statute of limitations period to where he could be facing criminal charges? If that's the case, we probably want to go pretty quiet, pretty silent, because you do not want to be giving any statements. He should definitely not be giving any statements. And then you want to start looking at the accusers who are probably the most damaging or maybe have the strongest cases or are within the statute of limitations and see if there's a way to resolve those cases and limit your liability.
Man, Mo, I know you're doing, liability and injury cases, but do you do criminal too? Because I know I'm gonna get arrested sometimes.
I used to. I started out doing criminal. I don't do it too much anymore. We have other attorneys who do that now.
Wow, man, that was so solid.
Hey man, but look, you can. I'm cheaper than Mo. Like whatever.
Yeah, you do
Whatever
the price.
I mean, I don't want to know. I like to know. I only like to defend people that are definitely guilty.
Okay.
That way, I know what I'm working with.
Well, and to be fair though, if the person comes to you and says, "Hey, I did this. I'm guilty," you can have a lot more fun with it, because if you get them with a lesser charge or get a not guilty or get them, just less than what they thought, you're walking out a hero. So, it's kind of the old, under promise, over deliver type thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man. All right, man. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna send you a text, man. I think I want to sue somebody.
Yeah, right. I just want to get arrested for you to represent me. Man.
What?
No, I don't want. No, me and Jr. talk about two. We're on
Yeah.
two different wavelengths
Oh,
right
okay,
now.
I'm sorry, yeah.
He's got like some kind of jail fantasy.
Yeah.
I,
yeah. Right. I like yeah.
yeah.
When you arrive, the fantasy will go away very quickly. Trust me.
For sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is not what happened in my dreams.
Oh man. One more really quick, because we're going to talk about this later in the show, and I would have talked about it earlier. They're talking about the judge in the Floyd case, the George Floyd case. He refuses to move the trial. Okay. With this case in particular, how is there a reasonable expectation that everybody in the jury pool, they've all seen the video? I understand that you can't escape that, but you're supposed to see people that may have seen the video but have not yet formed an opinion, and they're capable of sitting through evidence and just look at it. I don't think you find that person in this country. And if you find the rare person who goes, let alone a whole jury, and they go, George Floyd, I don't know if I want that person on the jury.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays with social media, I think the first time we saw that was really with the OJ trial. I mean, you probably couldn't find a person in the world who didn't see that video. So then it becomes a question of how impartial can these people be? Have they already made up their mind based on what they've seen in the media? And there's definitely a spectrum of people who have probably really, dug into it, read the reports, read the investigation files, gone beyond just seeing the video and are really, kind of vested in it. And there's probably other people who probably saw the video in passing and really don't know what's going on. So you have to kind of find those people who haven't formed an opinion yet. And it's going to take a huge pool of potential jurors to try to find those people. And there's going to be a lot who are going to be disqualified.
So justcallmo.com. We're talking to a Tampa attorney, Moses DeWitt. Hey, sorry to keep you so long, man.
No, you're good. I was having fun.
Feed. I know you got okay. So here's what I'm thinking about the George Floyd case as well. You're still trying to seat your jury. I don't know the state of like people being sequestered. I don't know what's happening. But then last week you see the city settle with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, the city settling with the family in a civil case before the criminal case goes, all right, everybody, we paid the family because the cop's going to walk, so just keep in mind, we paid the family. How do you keep a juror from hearing that they paid the family? And I'm all for a fair trial. Officer Derek Chauvin should get a fair trial. But how does he get a fair trial when all of that information? I think that is hard, man. It's impossible to get an impartial jury.
I mean, I think you're right. I think it's going to be tough. And when you think about it, a civil case, let's say that went to it was prosecuted in court. There was a lawsuit filed. It was a civil case. That's a lower burden of proof than a criminal case. So, if you're a juror and you know that, and you're basically saying, okay, the city paid the family off, well, does that mean that the police officer is automatically guilty? And so if I'm a defense attorney defending that officer, I'm going to be very concerned about anyone who knows about that settlement.
$27 million. It is hard to tell just an average person, a layman, that, hey, well, the family got a civil case, but there's a different burden of proof. Right.
Yeah.
People hear $27 million. That sounds like you did it.
That's yeah.
You don't, yeah.
that screams that you're guilty.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he is. Let the jury decide, but that's a lot of money.
Why did they rush to solve it so fast?
That's a good question, and I haven't been following that case to really be able to give you an answer as to why I think that. Obviously, if they're settling it for that amount of money, they saw some pretty significant liability there to where they did not want that case to go to a jury. And it could be that they didn't think they would be able to find an impartial jury to hear the case who wouldn't award hundreds of millions of dollars. So they may have thought $27 million was cheap.
The other thing is, wouldn't you think that if they let let the officers go to trial first, and they're convicted. Now you get exponentially more as opposed to just getting that out of the way before the trial.
Yeah, I mean, that could also certainly be a concern. And I don't know what the timelines were in the two cases, if, one was already set for trial or one wasn't, and if they thought one was going to go before the other. But yeah, you're definitely concerned about, if a guilty verdict comes back on the criminal trial, how that affects the civil trial and vice versa.
I would imagine it has to, because you have the state saying basically, yeah, these guys are at fault.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing it a little differently. I know they say that this is the largest pretrial civil rights settlement ever at $27 million. Yeah, on the other side of town, the positives on this are people are saying, now if you're talking about Black Lives Matter, well, we just put a price on one. And if you get a similar case where you see someone killed in a similar way, you might tighten up some things if it's gonna cost you $27 million every time you kill a black man. I'm just saying there's been a price put on it, on something that has never really been kind of factored in, and that happened. So I don't know. This is a sticky situation, especially with the settlement going down first.
Yeah, and I will say, whenever there's that kind of money involved, there's been quite a bit of analysis done behind the scenes. They've probably, done some focus groups, some polling to try to get a better idea of what they think a jury would do in this situation. Because they don't just write, $27 million checks that easily.
Can I tell you though, honestly though, and we can end with this, if the thinking is that a good settlement for the family is gonna soften the reaction from a not guilty verdict, I don't see that happening.
It's an interesting thought. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
Vaccine reluctancy is going down in the black community, and people getting vaccinated, people ready to come outside. Oh, they're ready. Oh, they'll be ready. Yeah, it'll be crazy. All right, Attorney Moses DeWitt, always a pleasure. We will speak with you next Friday. JustCallMo.com is the website. Mo, have a great weekend, and
you too.
We love you in a manly way, in a very manly way.
Very manly.
Yes.
Call you.
All right.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
There you go. I like talking.
Forgot we're still on Facebook. All right. Well, we went a little long tonight. Hopefully you guys liked it. And they got into some topics there I wasn't expecting, but talk about anything. See, give my legal analysis on it. So have a great weekend. See you on Monday morning for Monday Morning with Mo. Take care, everybody.